Welcome to the Relationship Blueprint, unlocking your power of connection. After 40 years of working with individuals, couples, and families, I have come to the conclusion that at the heart of most problems is a relationship that just isn't working. Join me in discovering why relationships fall apart, how to reconnect, and how to build deeper and more meaningful connections. I will invite fascinating guests to help us explore your questions about relationships. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Relationship Blueprint, unlock your power of connection. And I'm really excited to follow up on our episode with Dr. Maya Coleman, who really helped us see that when we are hearing an angry person, our partner, our boss, our friend, our siblings, our children, we really have to look behind the curtain in order to help calm ourselves and then respond accurately. I mean, we really have a choice in any given moment to react or to respond. And it's not always easy to respond. It's a lot easier said than done. So today we're going to take a deeper dive into what do we do with our reactivity? And I thought it might be a good time to bring this up, given the election nervousness, the collective energy around who is going to win. People seem to feel passionately for one candidate or the other. And I think that all of the ads and all of the stuff going around us is just sort of a negative energy that we're all just experiencing. And a lot of expectations about what will happen in the next week and after that. So then on top of that, we have the holidays. And although the holidays are meant to be joyful and time for connection with family and friends, often holidays are not exactly that. There's a lot of expectations about maybe this time I'll have a better connection with my mom, or maybe I'll get along with my sister, or maybe my brother-in-law won't get drunk, or whatever the story is in your family, we all have them. And so we look forward to the holidays, and some of us might even dread them. And some of us may not have a place to go. We are actually alone. And I think that the pressure in our culture, 'tis the season to be jolly, whether we're celebrating Hanukkah or Thanksgiving or Christmas or any other holiday that you may celebrate. I think that some people are very lonely, and I think that some people may be even with people and feel that loneliness. The other thing that happens going back to reactivity is that when we're with these people, that we love, we are really not sure of what people are going to say or do. And if politics comes up, that can really trigger our nervous system. So today we're going to just really focus on what is reactivity, what do we do with it, and how can we do it better? How can we move from reactive responses to truly just responding? And then after we respond, we usually don't have that emotional hangover, which is now I got to go make up with my sister, or now I don't know what to do if I'm going to be with them at Christmas. I mean, there's a lot of energy spent after the infraction, if you will. If there's a disconnection in a relationship, there's a lot of drama afterwards. And that can take up a finite amount of energy that we all have. So I really want us to get a deeper understanding of our own reactivity, other people's reactivity, what we can do about it, what we can explore, and how we can behave differently. Because the bottom line is your behavior is effective. Don't change a thing. If you wish your behavior could have a different outcome and you'd like this year to look a little differently from last year, then this might be a good episode for you to listen to. And frankly, I've never had a client ever who couldn't benefit from learning some management of their own reactivity and emotions, because emotions are part of our everyday life. And we have big emotions, and then we have smaller emotions. What do we do with that big emotion, that big reactivity? So let's talk about meditation. So a lot of people boo-hoo meditation. I don't meditate. I can't think. I can barely stay silent for 30 seconds without having some sort of thoughts about what I have to do or someone interrupting me. I want to talk about it in the way that we can build that muscle with meditation, because it is scientifically proven to help with mood, any mood disorder, PTSD, depression is a big one, anxiety, and we don't have to sit still and be quiet. There are many guided meditations that we can listen to. Just look for one on YouTube. I mean, they're everywhere for free, and find one that you like, because we all don't like the same voice. We all don't need the same meditation. One of my favorite apps is 10% Happier with Dan Harris. And I know he has episodes to help us specifically around the election and also holidays. So if you want more of that, 10% Happier might be an app that you want to download. So if you are at home and comfortable, I'm going to do a guided meditation with you where you will close your eyes. If you are driving or doing something, you obviously should not be closing your eyes. But if you're in a place where you can relax, I'd like you to settle into wherever you are. You don't have to be sitting in a yoga position. You can be lying down on your bed, sitting in a chair, wherever you're comfortable. And I'm going to take you on a little tour of your brain. And if you're a doctor, you may not enjoy this meditation, but for most of us, it really helps to understand how our brain works and where this reactivity comes from. So if you would, lower your eyes or close them and just rest a minute and notice your breath. Notice if your heartbeat is beating faster. Notice if you are breathing through your chest or your belly. Noticing if I breathe through my belly, do I feel more relaxed? Notice anywhere in your body where you might be holding stress from the day or tightness from sleep. Inhale and hold your breath for 4 seconds. So take a deep inhale and then exhale. And putting your lips together like a straw is a tool to help relax your body even more. We're thinking about brain hacks here. And so the main thing with your breathing is if you're trying to calm yourself down, you want to get out of that reactive state and get to a more responsive state, you need to trick your brain. You need to breathe, and you can inhale for, say, 4, hold for 4, and then exhale for 6. As long as your exhale is longer than your inhale, you're going to feel some benefits from it. So let's do this again. Breathe in, hold, exhale. And if you want to, repeat that 2 or 3 times until you start to feel a sense of relaxation. Remember that this idea of managing our reactivity is a mind-body-spirit connection. And sometimes we just live in our heads. So let's talk about what's going on in our heads. So as your eyes are closed, I want you to picture your brain in 4 parts. It can be anatomically correct if you're into that, or you can just see it as like a circle, a piece of pie, just divided into 4 parts. And the first part we're going to explore in your brain is the reptilian brain. And this is the part of the brain that we inherited from the reptile. So picture your least or most favorite reptile. See it sunning itself, taking in the warmth of the sun, perhaps protecting its young. See it smile, its mouth, its body, hear any sounds that it makes, and now see this same reptile attacked by a predator. Now I want you to picture that same reptile, and I want you to see its teeth, its body, its sound, its eyes. This part of the reptile is the same part we have. We have 2 buttons. It's either safe or dangerous. We walk into a room. we meet somebody, we're either drawn to them, we're like, I could like this person. I feel safe on some level. Or I walk into the room and I feel an energy of feeling unsafe. Safe or dangerous. Our partner comes home from work. They have a look on their face. On, off. Safe, dangerous. This part of our brain does not distinguish between a man at my window with a gun and my husband looking really angry or upset. I only get the energy of it of feeling safe or danger. All right, now we're going to go to the second part of your brain, the mammalian brain. And now I want you to picture your least favorite mammal or your most favorite mammal and see it taking care of its young. See it playing with others. Watch its eyes, teeth, sounds, body language. And then see this same mammal being attacked or protecting you. Look at its teeth. Look at its eyes. Look at its body. Look at its sounds. This is the place of feelings. So the reptile communicates with the mammal all the time. Safe, danger. So in one scenario, the mammal felt safe. The mammal can experience love. Your dogs can love you. They experience feelings of connection and disconnection and fear. So the reptile and the mammal are in constant communication. So if you're feeling safe, you can feel love and excitement and be happy and jokes are great. But if you're really in the fear state, none of those same things really register in the same way. The third part of your brain, we're calling the monkey brain. And the monkey brain is such an important part for humans. This is unique to humans. This is where we have stories. So picturing a monkey jumping from tree to tree, ideas pop into our head. We're in the shower. Well, what if I did this with my living room? Or what if we went there on vacation? And all the ideas start to come. Maybe we shouldn't go there on vacation. Your partner is late and they haven't texted you. I wonder if something happened to him. There's a lot of traffic on the highways. I just heard of an accident the other day. Like our brain goes into all these different directions. And the great thing about this part of our brain is that it is the seat of creativity. It does make up stories, but it makes up art and it makes music and lyrics and poetry and novels and movies. But it also can be a great source of pain. And if you're like most people, a lot of your stories don't turn out so well. So this is an important part of our brain, but it's one we have to have checks and balances to really make sure that we're not getting upset over things that have not happened nor will happen. The fourth part of the brain I call the zookeeper, in line with my reptiles and my monkeys and my mammals. And the zookeeper is the frontal cortex, the decision maker, the executive function. And this is really hard to sometimes access, especially when the reptile is in fear. Okay, when the reptile is in the unsafe zone, accessing the frontal cortex is a real stretch. And that is why we talk about meditation as a wonderful tool and a muscle to build, because this is where we create the superhighway from the reptilian brain to the frontal cortex or to the zookeeper, because then we can get there faster and calm ourselves down and be a responder. So this is really critical. So as you're lying down, you may want to keep your eyes closed for the rest of the podcast, but this part of the exercise, the guided meditation, is over. But guided meditations are really powerful because they can help us visualize maybe what we need to see versus what we are seeing in our storytelling. So if you're using a guided meditation to sleep or to calm yourself down, it's powerful because it can see what hasn't actually happened, but we can experience the feeling as if it happened. And we can also cement some ideas through the pictures that we create in our minds. So, with that being said, what do we do with all of this reactivity? Like, it's going to happen. It happens when we're in traffic. we have to learn to deal with our own before we worry about anybody else's. I think that in our personal relationships is where we struggle the most. We talked about seeing someone in traffic, and that may upset us and we have be highly reactive for a minute, but it's a little easier to let some of those things go. Why is that? When it happens in our family with our mother, our child, our sister, our husband, our girlfriend, it has a bigger intensity. And the reason that that's true is that we have so much to lose. And that's why when we're practicing any of these skills moving forward, it's a little easier to practice them at work and in spaces, the grocery store, where although we're very aggravated and activated, we don't have to react to the situation. And so I encourage you to practice in places where it's a little easier to calm yourself down. When we build this muscle in our brain, we're going to be able to build a toolbox around our own reactivity. And this takes time. It takes practice. A pause button can be a really powerful tool. Like some people will just use the pause. They know about the brain reactivity. They know about the whole zookeeper, monkey, reptile, mammal brain. And so they use the term pause as if they're pushing a button. They feel the reactivity in their body. And this is really important. I asked a client the other day, so where do you feel it when you start to get defensive? What do you notice in your body? And because he's been working at this for a while, he was very quick to be able to tell me, well, my ears burn. And I can feel like heat coming up through my chest. And I feel my blood pressure and a headache starts almost right away. So your body is your best messenger. Your body's telling you, okay, this reactivity is coming. And if you can find that place to pause, chances of you cussing somebody out or saying something you can't take back are much better. Because your pause gives your brain that time instead of that muddy road from your reptilian brain to your zookeeper. You can get that car there faster. You can move it from reptilian. Okay, I don't feel safe. I know I'm angry. The story I'm in is that my mother's going to start again. Oh my God, I don't want to hear this again. She always attacks me in front of the family at Thanksgiving table every single time. Okay, zookeeper. What if she doesn't attack? Or what if she does? And I say, Mom, I don't want to talk about this right now. The pause gives us time to evaluate. And if you still want to cuss her out, you can, honestly. But the pause gives you more power. And we're talking about getting our power in the relationship blueprint. Remember the title. It's Unlock Your Power of Connection. It's your power to say what you want to say. But wouldn't you like to have the pause to be able to make the better decision about what you're saying, how you're saying it? Because remember, we're always thinking about our intention and our impact. How many times have you said or you've heard a loved one say, I didn't mean it that way. That wasn't my intention. The fact that you experienced it this way, basically, sorry you experienced it that way because that was not my intention. Well, just because you have a good intention doesn't mean that you are free of the consequence or the impact that you have on other people. So if we really want our intention, which might be to tell Mom, I really don't want you to talk about that at the dinner table. If that's really your intention, then you have to give that unsafe brain time to get there. So that might mean I'm just going to go get water. I'm using the restroom. I'll be right back. You need to find your pause. That's because, as we said, when we just blurt it out or just say one more thing or have the last word, which is really old habits from childhood, when we do that, there's usually a price to pay. And often we're the person that has to pay. because we really don't enjoy the time that we have with these people. So with that being said, we're going to learn a little bit more about the pause. And I want you to think about, before you get to some of these places like Thanksgiving dinners, or maybe a party where there's going to be talk about the election, or with friends that differ from you, you're at a dinner and you know that half of the people really do not support the candidate that you support. We really need to get centered and think about our energy. And what energy am I bringing to this situation? And if I don't have clarity around that, it has the potential for conflict to happen. So how do I shift my energy? So I might say, when I'm with people that I know differ from me politically, and I am a little nervous about having a real conversation about anything anymore seems controversial, what I try to do is I try to ask myself, what energy do I want to bring to this dinner? And I'll just say the person's Mary. And I know Mary is highly charged for this one candidate. And I know that she'll end up talking about it, and she's going to want to tell me why I should think the way she thinks. And what energy do I want to bring? How do I want to show up? And what kind of person am I really? So one of my strategies is think about Mary. Why am I even going there? Well, I really love Mary. I mean, Mary is a good woman. She has a wonderful family. She's been an excellent doctor for a long time and has helped many, many people, and including me. And so I try to remember all that I love about Mary before I go. Okay. It helps to really frame that person as the good that they are, because in that moment when Mary starts telling me how I should think, feel, and act, my unsafe brain goes to anger and defensive behavior. And my story is that if I don't put Mary in her place, she's going to just suck me dry, right? The opposite of that is what I just described to you, and seeing Mary and being like ready for it and just saying, Mary, may even put my arms around her and say, Mary, I love you and I want to enjoy our night, but I do not want to talk about this today. And that's the end. It's the end. And then we have nothing to repair. And we change the subject. And then we say, tell me about the kids, or whatever it is, your new job, or I heard you just traveled to New York. Tell me about it. Intention, pause, get ready for it, think of the positive, go into it with no expectations. Mary begins. We have an intervention plan. We change the subject. We set our boundary, but we change the subject. So I grew up without dads or like really brothers. I had cousins that I got to spend summers with, boy cousins, and thank God I had them, because I really didn't know how to fight with other kids. I didn't have a lot of male energy around me. And so when I would be with really angry men, just being around them, makes me so nervous and so scared. Even if they're really like yelling about a football game, it just had this impact. I also had a mom who had trouble with emotional regulation. And so I really didn't like loud yelling and screaming. And it made me personally shut down. So we talk about these behaviors that we learned as kids that were really helpful to us. I mean, actually shutting down was really a good coping mechanism for me, because whatever I said was going to be the wrong thing. Of course it would be if my mother's reptile was acting up and she felt unsafe. So I developed a response that worked as a child. Now, what does that look like when you get older and you have adult relationships? It looks like you're unavailable. It looks like you're shut down. It looks like you're giving people the silent treatment. It looks like you've abandoned them. What they don't see on the inside, right, is the scared person that it's better not to say anything than to say something and mess up. So we have to fight our childhood behaviors. We have to say to ourselves, like, this worked for me then. Is it working for me now in my relationships? Is being defensive a really great way to connect with my partner, my kids, my friends? So we're really kind of going to have to dig in a little bit. If you see a therapist, maybe even just a friend you could sit with and say, how do you experience me when I'm angry? What am I like? What is my impact, right? I want to know how I impact you. And once we start to get aware of that reactivity, then we can start paying attention to those body messages about our reactivity. We can feel them coming on. My throat closes up. I know that when I'm, because it's my automatic get quiet. Breathing right away. The throat's coming. I got to breathe. So we're not helpless children anymore. So let's grow up. Let's choose behaviors that are more effective. I mean, I go back to that a lot in my office is if your behavior is effective, some people want to hold on to these behaviors. If they're effective for you, don't change them. But if you're finding they're ineffective, it's life-changing to change your defenses. We can predict divorce. This is through the Gottman research with 4 behaviors. If you want to get a divorce or end a good relationship, be defensive, be critical, show contempt, and shut down. They are the 4 things that will predict at least an unhealthy relationship, but in Gottman's work, the end of a relationship. So they are the 4 horsemen: contempt, silent treatment, defensiveness, and criticism. And many of us were raised to criticize you into learning how to treat me. Well, you never do this. I mean, I can't believe you never help around the house. It's like I do everything myself. Who wants to listen to that, right? Who wants to listen to the lecture about what you're not? Your natural thing to do would be to defend yourself. But because we're having this discussion about reactivity, I'm hoping that you might respond differently. Like after the pause, after the breathing, when you talk to me that way, I feel like I don't want to help around the house because I feel attacked and it just doesn't feel good. I wish that you would ask me in a different way. Like maybe you could say, I could really use your help. When would be a good time? You know, but that comes from frontal cortex. The zookeeper reptile is, you never help me around here. I can't stand it anymore. I'm just up to my ears. It's like you don't even care about me. You do nothing around here. The all or nothing statements. You know, that's from the reptilian brain. So what I want you to do is think about ways that you could be more effective. And I went to some research to say, you know, what else works? So we've talked a little bit about breathing and we've talked about the podcast, but I want to tell you a little bit more. So there's been these recent advances in brain research about emotional regulation and innovative approaches that help both internal and external factors in managing our emotions effectively. So there's one that's called cognitive strategies for regulation, and studies show that reframing how we view a stressful situation, called distancing, is really helpful. So what that means is that let's think that I am thinking about last Thanksgiving's dinner. And maybe there was a huge argument between my spouse and my mother. And it was just really painful. Everyone didn't have a good time. It was just awful. So now as I picture it like a movie, so I watch it happen because I'm really fearful about going to the next dinner. So if I can watch the event as if it already happened and as a movie, I can somehow remove some of the negative emotions that I experienced because I'm seeing it from a different point of view. I'm distancing myself from the actual event. And I've done all the things that I said that I'm going to practice with my breathing and my pausing and seeing my mother and my husband as these wonderful people that I love for many reasons. After I do that, I'm hopefully going to be able to help myself prepare in a different way for the dinner, and also to reimagine what it could look like with these new thoughts about how I'm going to prepare for my holiday. The other approach is called the social good approach, and it encourages you to see adverse situations as opportunities to help others. Now, this is really like for people that are nurses and doctors and teachers and policemen and anyone who is a first responder or really impacting and part of someone's life that's experiencing trauma. It's really important that these people see these events as what that event would have looked like without their help. You can't change the event. If you see something awful happen, or you have a child that you know in your classroom has something terrible going on, it's really hard for your body to let go of that tension and pain. And so what we want to do is see it within social approach, where we see how important we are or someone else is to that moment. If there's a fire, there's a fire, right? We can't change the fact that there was a fire, but what if the firemen had not come? Maybe they lost everything, but what was good? What good came out of the situation? And even the Thanksgiving dinner, there was some really good stuff that came from that, not immediately, because then there's the big emotional hangover after the event. But there can be really good things that come from those interactions that happen. We can learn about our own reactivity, our partners, our mothers, what not to say the next time, what to sort of do to prevent it from happening this time. A lot of good information comes. Remember, what we're talking about all comes from accessing that frontal cortex, that zookeeper, the logic, the part of us that isn't all emotional. If we live back in the reptilian and the mammal brain, and then even in the stories, it's a painful place to live, and nothing much will change. That's the big question. Do you want it to change? Sometimes it means we don't have Thanksgiving dinner with those people. Sometimes that's the outcome. Sad, but if it comes from that frontal cortex and not an emotional decision, it may be the exact right thing that needed to happen. The other that people don't access enough, the same as breath. I mean, the breath and this one I think are pretty easy, is nature and emotional well-being. So we know that our interaction with natural environments helps emotional regulation, linking nature exposure that reduces stress and anxiety. I can get into the theories, but basically the mental restoration and reducing cognitive fatigue is actually healed through nature. So we can really help calm our nervous system by taking a walk and just unplug. Don't bring your phone. Listen to the birds. Look at the trees. See flowers. If you don't live in a place that's exactly like that, I remember feeling overwhelmed in New York, and I was in the Bronx, and I found this beautiful the Bronx Garden. And it was like being in such a place of serenity. And at the time, I didn't realize how dysregulated I felt when I was in the city. It wasn't until I found this garden by accident that I felt peace. Okay. Because I wasn't aware then. What I know now is that going into nature, not only scientifically, that I know it helps me, but I feel it. I feel it when I walk on the beach. I feel it when I walk in the woods. So don't forget to access that as a tool to help you with your anxiety right now. Let's see. Social support. Really important. It's really important that right now, maybe you're in an echo chamber of the people that believe what you believe about the election. Whatever that is, if you're feeling support where you are, take it, enjoy it, savor it. If someone in your echo chamber is really angry and vicious and full of, that collective anger that we're experiencing across our nation, you might want to step away from that. Feeding that won't change a thing and will only make you more anxious about what happens. So we really want you to take good care of yourself. This is all about, how do I take care of me through these really challenging times? If you don't have access to a friend or family, there's online support, and I would highly recommend it. BetterHelp is a great resource. You really need to find a place to talk and to just process what you're thinking, what you're feeling. Journaling, if you're interested in that, even if you've never done it before, but sitting down and writing out all your stories in your head and what's bothering you can be a really powerful way of releasing a lot of this tension. I want to also talk to you about some apps that I did mention before, but I think are very important. Some of the apps that are highly regarded as meditation apps in 24 include Calm, CALM, Headspace, Insight Timer, and 10% Happier. Each one is tailored to different meditation preferences. So Calm is known for its extensive resources for sleep and relaxation. It offers backgrounds of soundscapes, short meditation and sleep stories. It's particularly beneficial for users who struggle with sleep or want relaxation sessions. Calm requires a subscription, but offers an annual and lifetime plan that unlocks its entire library. So that's one recommendation. I would also recommend Headspace. Headspace is great for beginners. It features animated guides to meditation basics, daily suggested routines, and SOS sessions for moments of high stress. While focusing on mental health, it's accessible to those starting a meditation journey through experienced users that might find it, less advanced. Another app is called Insight Timer, and this app stands out for its 150,000 free meditations, covering diverse topics such as self-esteem, sleep, making it the best budget-friendly app. Insight Timer also includes a timer for self-guided sessions and a community feature for connecting with other meditators globally. And the last one is the one I have liked, 10% Happier. It's designed for mindfulness skeptics. 10% Happier emphasizes science-backed techniques without spiritual language. Its short, structured sessions focus on stress management and happiness. However, it lacks community features, and that could be a drawback for some users. I like it because Dan Harris he and another man developed it. He is a Buddhist meditation teacher. Dan Harris was on ABC, NBC, I can't remember which, but he was a newsman, and he was having panic attacks, and he was self-medicating with alcohol, drugs, and he had a panic attack on national television. And so he, as a journalist, did all this research, what works, what can I use to help me with this high anxiety that I'm experienced. Worked with Dr. Goldstein. He's the Buddhist, Jewish meditation teacher. And they wrote a book, 10% Happier, and then they developed this app. And what I love about it is the first 7 sessions are just conversations with Dan and Dr. Goldstein. And it's real stuff, 3 minutes. Dan says, all right, what do I do? I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about the grocery list and the 10 other things I should be doing other than meditating, right? And then Dr. Goldstein explains in about 3 minutes. And then there's a 3-minute practice. So by the time you've done it for 7 days, they've had 7 conversations, and you're building your muscle, even though the brain is not a muscle, I'm calling it that. You build your muscles so that you start to increase your ability to slow down and listen to a guided meditation for more than 7 minutes. And it's a great beginning. And then you can look at whatever app. There are sessions for improving your overall health, your blood pressure, your exercise routine. If you're in sports, you're getting anxious before, say, a tennis match, there's a calming session for that as well to build your athletic toolbox as well. So each app is a great place to help you to manage your stress, your anxiety. And then I'm going to end with prayer. It depends on, some people say I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, and many people have many different practices. And it really doesn't matter. But if you do have any belief system in anything, spiritual practice right now is something to not be ignored. Prayer is praying to God, and meditation is listening to God, in my opinion. And that's how I see it. So sometimes I think we spend a lot of time praying for things like I pray so-and-so wins the election because that's going to make the country better. And meditation would be listening to your higher power and wondering what he, she, it has to say to you and how you can ask for calm. You can ask for peace so that you can enjoy this one life that we have. And when you look at the tragedy that's happening in our world, I think it's important that we all find ways to find peace and contentment. Maybe it's not happiness. Maybe it's contentment. Maybe it's gratitude, even in the dark times that are really difficult right now. So I wish everyone to have a beautiful day. Maybe you take one piece of what I said today. Maybe it will help you with your holiday. We'll probably circle back to the topic of the holidays based on what our listeners want to hear. And I want to thank you so much for taking your time to be with me on the Relationship Blueprint, unlocking your power of connection. Thanks, everybody.